jeez, you're
And
right, though.
And then I'm going to tell you, and I'm going to tell you, and I had
you're right,
this
though.
is when I flipped my paper over.
I love when you...
Welcome to Pork Chops, Rice, and Peaches. I'm Richard.
I'm Noah.
And we've got more of a quasi-topic top 5 list today on the agenda. And again, this is one that we haven't really talked about much, maybe a minute on the phone.
Threw the idea out here, and we're just going to go with it.
Go ahead and introduce the idea.
We are talking about mentor characters today. Some of our favorites, some of the best ones. That's why we said pseudo top 5.
Right.
Ish list. So let's get into it. Who's the first character that comes to mind when you think of a mentor character?
First mentor character that came to mind when I thought about this was Addicus Finch.
Yep.
And it was, I mean, that I gave serious consideration to, because I started flashing through, the obvious ones that our generation is going to think of. But I really thought Addicus Finch is as a mentor character. And then immediately my first question that I had was, can a parent fill that role? Is mentoring someone something that you do to someone outside of your family? Can a father or a mother mentor their child? And so I wondered if that immediately disqualified him, because we don't see Addicus Finch in any role other than the parent of Scout and Jem. And almost all of his interactions, with the exception of the scene in the courtroom. Yeah. But that's not a mentoring role. That's just, it's just a trial.
I think it depends on what your definition of a mentor figure is, but I think, or mentor character, like in the world of story writing, but I think anyone who would provide guidance, maybe provide inspiration / guide the characters on their path, could be considered a mentor figure.
Well, I think that for anyone who's read To Kill a Mockingbird, Addicus Finch stands out as the penultimate parent. The parent everyone aspires to be. He's calm, he's level-headed, he's thoughtful, he's not rigid, he has reasons for everything that he does. Mm-hmm. But at first glance, his parenting is atypical. Yeah. I love my folks, but they would have come unglued if I did some of the things that was done in that story. So, love you, Mom. But his demeanor, he was educated, mm-hmm. He was compassionate. He modeled all of these. He didn't just explain them. He modeled them. Okay. His reluctance, when you find out that he was Deadshot Finch, I think they called him. That he's this expert marksman, and his kids never knew it. When he shoots the rabid dog dead in the middle of the street, his reluctance to kill anything is there, and he certainly didn't want his children to know it. He's got all of these different layers to him, and he has a backstory. But when you look at the entire character, he is just this wonderful character, and it's almost a shame that you don't get more of him. And probably, as I think about it,
that's probably a good trope of any good mentor character.
Oh, yes, because there's a character on the list we're going to talk about, and that very, very thing. Okay, gotta write this down. No, that's a good point.
I think a good mentor character makes you want to learn more about about that character, but you don't get to. But you don't get to, because it adds this air of mystery to this person. It's like, how did they end up this way?
Well, his brother Jack, who doesn't have any children, responds entirely differently to Scout cursing than Atticus does, and he explains his reason. And his reasoning makes total and complete sense. And Jack's reaction was more like my parents would have. Love you, Mom. So I think tops of my list,
Yeah.
mentor figure, the one that comes to mind as being the best, it's got to be Atticus Finch.
Okay. All right. Cool.
Now, as I run down, I had 3 while we were sitting here getting set up that hit my list, and I don't
hit.
Yeah, I don't even know where to start. So let's pick the low hanging fruit.
Let's do the easy ones. Let's do the easy ones.
Dumbledore. All right.
Gotta talk about. Get it out of the way. We're talking about.
But
Harry Potter as a story.
The books,
personal feelings, and everything else aside.
I'm just gonna limit it to the books because the problem with the change in actors and the change in delivery and performance has had an entirely different feel to the character.
Mm-hmm.
But interesting thing, you should say you don't see much of him. You want to see more. We saw Dumbledore at the beginning and the very end of each story.
Mm-hmm.
The rest of the time, Harry was figuring it out himself. And when Dumbledore did interact with him, he was wise, he was fatherly, he was compassionate, he was, understanding. He maybe wasn't as strict as he could have been, but he allowed all the teachers on staff to be as strict as each one individually felt they needed to be.
Mm-hmm.
So when Snape gave a punishment, Dumbledore didn't save Harry from it.
Yep.
When McGonagall gave a punishment, he didn't save Harry from it.
McGonagall's another good one. Ooh, McGonagall's good. Because McGonagall has this, she doesn't take, the wise mentor, she doesn't, start offering the sound advice, but she's a good role model character as well. And she does give guidance, she's, and stands up for Harry. And
as she was the assistant headmaster or the headmistress, she was the enforcer, which is the typical role of the second in command, is the enforcer.
Yep.
She did that very well. I absolutely loved the scene where Harry knocks out. They're in Ravenclaw's room, and Harry knocks out the
Death Eater,
one of the Death Eaters, and because he spat on her.
Mm-hmm.
And he revealed himself, and and he's like, no,
no,
they don't get to treat you that way.
You don't get to mess with McGonagall.
So there was some loyalty there,
mm-hmm.
I maybe a good mentor brings that loyalty out of people.
Yeah, and this is why we're going through a list of characters, because now we're finding the things that might apply.
Yeah, well, and when I think about one of the best mentors in my life, in my early life, I was fierce defender.
Mm-hmm.
Fiercely
mm-hmm.
loyal to him. I don't think Yoda is a good mentor.
No, he's that might be sacrilegious, but I don't know how well Yoda fits the mentor role.
He does.
He's a teacher. Now, you do want to learn more about him. Who's this little frog gremlin that, is high on ketamine all the time and can lift a freaking starship out of a swamp. Get you there?
There's I don't know that there's ever a point in the Star Wars series where I really cared about learning more about Yoda. One, he's always there.
Yeah.
And he's always in the same mode. And
Is Obi-Wan the better fit?
No. He's the perennial gray ground middleman.
Okay.
Eyes in motion, the future is. Hard to tell things are. Trust your feelings. Don't.
He's got these cutesy little phrases, but the only time you see him really taking definitive action, picking the X-Wing out of the swamp,
mm-hmm.
taking on the Emperor in a fight.
Mm-hmm.
And she shuts down Dooku.
Yeah.
You know, but I mean, those are so few and far between. No, actually, in the Star Wars universe,
Ooh.
best mentor,
Yep.
Anakin Skywalker.
Oh, jeez, you're
And that-
right, though.
and then I'm
You're
gonna
right,
tell you, and I'm gonna
though.
tell you, and I had
You're
to.
right,
This
though.
is when I flipped my paper over.
I love when
I-
you. I love that you said Star Wars universe because
Right.
you have to clarify that because
because
yeah.
So there is the scene, and it came out in the Jedi Tales.
Tales of the Jedi.
Tales of the Jedi, where Anakin teaches Ahsoka how to fight off live shooting instead of drone shooting.
Yeah.
And he just lets her get knocked out over and over again until she learns how to defend herself in a real situation.
Yeah.
When you in Clone Wars says, "Oh my goodness, Clone Wars, the best writing and voice acting, it's just incredible,
it is,
right?
You're right, it is.
But the
my mind's still blown a little bit. You're right, though.
The relationship between Anakin and Ahsoka, it's interesting that someone as damaged as he was could actually be that close to another person, that they actually understood each other.
Yeah.
And he understood why she had to walk away from the Jedi Order.
Yeah.
And she understood what he was feeling.
Mm-hmm.
And he cared for her deeply. And he worked very, very hard to get her to see things that the rest of the Jedi Knights just didn't see.
Yeah.
There was far more Qui-Gon in Anakin than there was Qui-Gon in Obi-Wan.
You're right.
And so that was my big aha thing. I wrote it down. I flipped my paper over so I wouldn't see it because I wanted to drop that one on you.
You right though.
Okay.
Because you said this about when we talked about Tales of the Jedi. And what were we talking about? I think it was Bad Batch. We were talking about Bad Batch. You were talking about, in Tales of the Jedi, there's Dooku, and then we see how good Qui-Gon turned out.
Mm-hmm.
And you can't separate how good Qui-Gon turned out from the Master entirely, so obviously Dooku had to have something going for him. You said that. So, as soon as you said that, I'm like, you're right, because we see how good Ahsoka turned out. You can't take that away from Anakin, because he was her literal mentor. You're right. You're right. Controversial maybe, but wow. Boom.
Title of this episode, Anakin, best mentor ever. But so here,
that's the thumbnail. Yeah, that's gonna be the thumbnail. Oh, jeez.
So here's the other thing that they did such a good job with, since we're going down this rabbit hole, and then we'll reel it back.
Yeah.
Is that focus on Dooku fleshed out his character, made you almost agree with him.
Yep.
Made you understand him.
Yep.
Made you appreciate what his conflict was. They gave him the Thanos treatment. They did, in which is our code word for taking an enemy, taking a villain,
and just giving them the background, the character depth, and the character
that makes him a tragic figure.
Yeah,
that's what they did.
Yeah,
they make him a tragic figure.
Yeah.
So we've got there now. Other things that went on my list. I'm
gonna add one real quick.
Oh yeah,
I'm
go
gonna
add
add one real quick because you just did one.
Yeah.
Mr. Miyagi.
Yeah, I can see it. Yeah.
We thought we were talking about this as a video concept, and I was like, Mr. Miyagi, yeah, because you do get a little bit of that in that first movie. And first off, love Pat.
Yeah,
amazing. Love him in everything.
Yeah,
I've seen him in, but he does have that air of mystery.
Yes,
you're like,
you don't have his backstory.
You don't have his backstory, and he shows up and saves the hero and has his moment of really bad karate, because Pat was not a martial artist, but I love him nonetheless. And and obviously he's teaching Daniel karate, but he has his words of wisdom, and he teaches him skills.
Yep.
Like he helps him.
Yep.
Yeah.
So he's got it, and of course one of the things that you know from our sensei when we started covering Gichin Funakoshi's 20 precepts, that there are just simple things to live life by that a good sensei will share with you that will affect you and make you think twice about what you're learning and what you're doing and how you go forward. And Mr. Miyagi clearly did that. All right, I'll take it.
Yeah, Mr. Miyagi.
Right. We're gonna have to go actually get this list written down somewhere.
Yeah.
Bagheera.
Jeez! Wow! You're just pulling all the.
Well, it just.
You're right though. Yeah.
You know what? In Sebastian Cabot had such a wonderful voice.
Jungle Book, by the way.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I just assumed that everybody would know. Yeah. Bagheera. The voice actor was just a delight to listen to.
It's a great character.
But Bagheera is this guiding force, this trying to speak truth in this situation, and a strong enough hand to take control and say, we've got to go do this whether you like it or not. And in the end of the movie, you find out he was right.
Yeah. And that's another thing is, are the mentors, do they end up being right? Is that another qualification? Like, maybe not necessarily 100% right, because you do have great story arcs where, like, the hero proves that there's another way that all the rest of the good guys and even their mentor think is the wrong way.
Right.
But is the mentor still at least partially right by the end of the story? Is that a...
Thank you for bringing that up, because this brings me back to a point I dropped to you on the phone. Okay. And I've got to share right here, and I prepped it with a little video double check.
Okay.
When I first thought Dumbledore as a mentor, I immediately thought of Heath Ledger's Joker. Okay, follow me on this one.
Right, yeah.
Okay?
Hear him out on this one. That's a good one.
Right, hear me out on this one. So there is probably maybe the best scene in that Batman movie is the Joker visiting Harvey Dent in the hospital room. So now he's Two-Face, he's got that great CGI half face and all the damage and the whole thing. And the Joker's in his nurse's costume, and he's talking about the police, and he's talking about the commissioner. Yeah. And he says, they've all got a plan. Right? The Commissioner Gordon has a plan. They're planners. They're schemers. And he does that great job of turning it in from a plan to a scheme. Right? Yeah. And he says, schemers trying to control their little world. I'm not a schemer. I try to show them, right? And he tries to take their plans and just flip them on their ear. And he does a remarkable job. Right? Now,
he's an agent of chaos.
Right, he is. But the passion that Ledger delivers that with is such an amazing...
Such a good performance.
Yeah, it is. It's really good. But I immediately thought of that when Dumbledore came to mind, because what do we learn about Dumbledore? We learned that Dumbledore is all about secrets. Yeah. All about plans. He's always got an ulterior motive. He's always got something going on behind the scenes. And as good as his motives are, the way he goes about it, not always kosher. He's got this teenager that he's leaving flailing in the wind. Yeah. Dumbledore is the ultimate schemer. And today, today was yesterday. It was yesterday because I was on the highway yesterday. I'm on the highway yesterday, and I'm thinking to myself, if Joker were a wizard, you put a wand in the hand of Heath Ledger's Joker and put him up against Dumbledore, and you've got the battle of the century.
Oh, no.
And because of that connection that I made, I've got to bump Dumbledore down the list a little bit. Now, you could say the same thing, Anakin ultimately, goes off the deep end, but I think the relationship is slightly better
slightly better in that situation. Yeah.
Slightly better in that situation. So, you got one? I have one more to go.
I think I had one more that most people would think, and it's from another animated one, and I might have to go back in Kung Fu Panda. There's two.
Okay.
There's
I'm gonna have to watch that.
there's that movie's Yoda figure, Grandmaster Oogway the turtle.
Okay.
Mostly just because he pieces out into the afterlife, 30, 40 minutes into the movie after departing with some wisdom.
Mm-hmm.
No, one of his best quotes, I just wanted an excuse to say this. My favorite quote is, yesterday is history, tomorrow is a mystery, but today is a gift, and that's why it's called the present.
Oh, I like that. That's
It's
good.
It's a good quote. But honestly, no, the better mentor figure I would think in that movie is his disciple, Master Shifu, which is the stupidest name ever. That's like calling someone teacher sensei, because Sifu is master.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so Master, I think was voiced by Liam Neeson, if I'm not wrong. He's the little rat dude who trains Po, the Kung Fu Panda, to become the Dragon Warrior. But the reason I like him as a character is because he also has a character arc. Because he's left with this burden of training this destined warrior who's a bumbling oaf played by Jack Black.
Mm-hmm.
Who's a panda and doesn't know the first thing about martial arts. So he needs to teach Po and learn to teach Po, because he can't teach Po the traditional way like he's taught all his other students.
Right.
He has to teach Po in a way that Po can understand and grasp. And over the course of the movie, they have to learn together. Po learns to put in the effort, he learns to put in the work, and Shifu learns to motivate him and learns how to get through to him. And that's just, and it's a great, you want to talk about a good relationship. If you want to tie this back into Anakin's still growing in the Clone Wars. Just a wee bit. There's still stuff for Anakin to learn. But Shifu has a lot of character development.
Well, teaching
over the course of this movie,
and you've probably started to get a feel for this with the karate class you teach. Teaching is all about learning how each student learns and then fitting your instruction to match their learning styles. And if you're not doing that as an educator, you need to get out of the business. And it's also because it's so difficult to do on a grand scale in either a public or a private school. It's one of the biggest reasons why I think everyone should homeschool. Back to the topic at hand. So with all the mentors who die, all the mentors who leave, from Luke Skywalker's perspective, Yoda, Ben, they both died on him. You said this guy pieces out.
Oogway did, but
right.
Shifu doesn't.
And I'm wondering how much someone, leaving and leaving your
what effect does it have on the main character when their mentor dies?
Yeah, well, and do they have to die in order to complete their mission so that the main character can finally piece it all together on their own?
No, but I think this brings up a good point, because if the mentor figure does leave and it hits the main character, whoever it is, hard, and they feel like they're lost without them, and that's something they have to grow out of. They have to come out of the mentor shadow. They can't rely on the mentor to be there for them and always have the answer for them. Does that one of the keys in distinguishing what's a mentor figure?
Well, the mentor figure in my life died while I was in the Navy in the first year and a half. I mean, when I said goodbye to him when I went to boot camp, it was the last time I ever saw or heard from him. And then he passed away from cancer, and it left a huge hole. I would love to have talked to him later on in life. But the lessons that he did leave with me, I still carry with me to this day.
Yeah.
So it does have... It does have an effect. The character of M. and I don't.
Judy Dench.
Well, no.
Or just any of them.
Well, so in the novels, M is a dude,
yeah.
right? You know, in all the early Bond movies, you know,
yeah.
M is a dude, and
but like I'm more familiar because it's the more recent ones,
right?
Are the ones that are freshest in my memory.
So M was a father figure to Bond.
Mm-hmm.
Now they did not get a lot of time together.
Yeah,
and really in the novels, you know, and in the early movies, Bond talks about how he's a father figure, but you really don't get to see a lot of fatherly advice, you know. However, they changed that with Judi Dench's M, both when she was introduced with Pierce Brosnan and when they rebooted with Daniel Craig. Probably the best with Daniel Craig.
Oh,
and
yeah.
There's one of the movies.
Because you got multiple movies to see them interact, and oh my gosh, that one was a treasure. So much fun to watch in those movies.
Oh yeah, she was, and he actually makes a wisecrack that she thinks she's his mother in one of the movies, you know, and that character goes beyond just, you know, the cold hard brass knuckles of you're a disposable weapon, and I'm not afraid to send you to your death. However, she says, please come back. She very clearly cares for him, and she, in her frustration, she with him is shown, you know, that great scene where she's walking down the hallway complaining about how in the Cold War, you know, agents who screwed up that badly had the common courtesy to defect. You know?
That's a great line. If you break into my apartment again, I'll have you shot.
Yeah, exactly. You know, and you know she's telling the truth.
Oh yeah,
you know?
Oh yeah.
And better than that, he knows she's telling the truth. So, you know, I think the Judi Dench M with Daniel Craig is just an absolutely fantastic mentor.
Yeah. Not an active mentor, but a passive mentor.
Yeah.
All right.
Any more for your list?
Nope.
Okay,
so you beat me.
No.
No. I think I've got. I think that's it. So we got a nice, good list of.
I'm thinking Atticus Finch on top.
Cool.
Okay. I'm putting the Anakin Ahsoka relationship number 2. If you haven't watched the Clone Wars,
jeez, you need to.
The animated series,
so
you've got to watch it. It's so really good. So I'm putting Anakin there. I'm going to. I think I'm going to put M, number 3. And then in any order going down,
we'll just stack
Mr. Miyagi, Bagheera,
Shifu,
yeah,
Dumbledore, Yoda, or not Yoda.
Yeah, no, I think I kind of cut Yoda off.
Dang. You know what we're gonna have to do later?
What's that?
There's one that people are probably going to be screaming at us.
What?
And it's because we do not care for that series. Gandalf.
Well, okay. The reason
you haven't read the books. I suffered through the first 2. I'm sorry, we can't stand his writing style. But I've seen the movies. I don't think he would qualify.
Well, so I forced myself to watch the first movie. It couldn't end quickly enough for me. I found the whole thing painful. I haven't been able to read the books, so I can't get into the characters.
Yeah.
And so I can't comment on it. I'm not saying they're bad. I'm not saying anything critical of them. I'm saying I don't know them enough because I just can't get into it. Mm-hmm. So
hit the subscribe button.
No slings and arrows of outrageous fortune here. Don't give us the Dune treatment because we're not.
1,000 subscribers do a Lord of the Rings. The movies. I'll watch them with you. I'll suffer through them with you.
You better bring a lot of beer.
All right, you heard it here. Subscribe down below. If we hit 1,000, we'll do Lord of the Rings.
And get loaded. Thanks for tuning into this episode of Pork Chops, Rice, and Peaches.
What are your favorite mentor characters? Let us know in the comments below. And we will see you next time.
I blew your mind with Anakin.
Yeah, I was like, wait, no, that makes sense. No. All right.
Well, very good.
Oh yeah.